Could it be that humanity's greatest architectural feats were never truly human at all? Imagine standing at the base of a massive stepped pyramid, its shadow stretching over the sun-baked plains of ancient Mesopotamia. The air shimmers with heat, and yet the structure towers with a precision that seems almost otherworldly. These are the Ziggurats, monumental temples, each one a mystery, and yet many historians, engineers and archaeologists struggle to explain how they were built, centuries before modern cranes, pulleys or concrete existed. Have you ever wondered if our ancestors had help from forces beyond what we consider possible? Long before the Babylonian Empire reached its peak, these stepped pyramids rose from the earth, constructed of millions of mud bricks fired under the sun. At first glance, they seem simple, even primitive, but as we examine their scale, their geometric precision, and the massive weight of each layer, a troubling question emerges. How did a civilization with tools no more advanced than chisels, hammers, and simple levers accomplish what some modern engineers call impossible? Some ziggurats were hundreds of feet tall, with terraces that could have housed entire communities. And while the Mesopotamians recorded much of their daily life, the exact methods for these constructions remain largely undocumented. This absence of evidence only deepens the mystery. Before we continue deeper into this prophecy, quick request. If you enjoy falling asleep to ancient mysteries like this, hit subscribe. I upload new bedtime history every Saturday at 8 p.m, and I read every comment and take topic suggestions. Your next favourite sleep story might be one you requested. To understand why these ziggurats are so extraordinary, we must dive into the broader context of Mesopotamian society. The land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers was a cradle of civilization. By 3000 BCE, cities like Uruk and Ur had emerged, bustling hubs of trade, religion and governance. These early urban centres required monumental architecture not only as religious centres, but also as symbols of authority and cosmic alignment. Each ziggurat was designed as a stairway to the heavens, connecting the earthly realm with the gods. The question, however, is whether human ambition alone could have achieved such feats, or if there was intervention, knowledge or technology now lost to time. Enter the Anunnaki, deities mentioned in Sumerian texts, often described as beings who descended from the heavens to interact with humanity. Ancient cuneiform tablets recount that they brought knowledge of agriculture, law, and even construction techniques. Some scholars dismiss these accounts as mythological allegory. Others, however, suggest they encode real technological wisdom, disguised in symbolic language. If these descriptions are interpreted literally, the Anunnaki may have had a hand in designing or instructing the building of ziggurats, imparting methods far beyond contemporary human understanding. Consider the engineering marvels within these structures. The ziggurats of Ur, for example, had a core of sun-baked bricks with a facing of fired bricks, held together with bitumen, an ancient natural adhesive. Ramp systems were used to transport massive stones, some weighing several tons. Yet even with ramps, levers, and manpower, coordinating the labour to achieve uniformity across such immense dimensions would have been a logistical nightmare. This is where speculation begins. Could advanced tools or lost knowledge, passed down by beings like the Anunnaki, explain the precision and speed of construction? Or were these civilizations simply more ingenious than we give them credit for? As we begin to peel back the layers of history, one thing becomes clear. These structures are more than relics. They are puzzles. Each brick, each terrace, each alignment with the stars carries a story, a challenge, and a whisper from a civilization that may have known secrets we're only now beginning to grasp. In the next section, we will journey into the specifics of Anunnaki involvement and the incredible technologies that may have made these impossible ziggurats possible. As we leave the shadow of the first ziggurat behind, imagine tracing your fingers over the surface of an ancient clay tablet, worn smooth from millennia. The cuneiform inscriptions etched into it tell stories of gods, kings, and colossal construction projects. Yet hidden within these symbols may be instructions, formulas, or methods lost to time, encoded knowledge that hints at technologies far beyond what early humans are thought to have possessed. How could a civilization, which history often portrays as primitive, devise systems capable of raising enormous stone and brick structures with such precision? The answer may lie not solely in human ingenuity, but in guidance from the Anunnaki, whose presence in Mesopotamian texts is both pervasive and enigmatic. The Sumerians, credited with the invention of writing itself, left behind thousands of tablets describing everything from trade to celestial observation. Among these texts are references to gods who measured the heavens and tools that shaped the mountains. Mainstream historians often interpret these as poetic or symbolic descriptions, but a closer look reveals surprisingly practical instructions, details about brick proportions, mortar mixtures, and alignment methods that enabled stability across massive terraces. Some archaeologists argue that these were merely incremental human discoveries, passed down through trial and error. Yet when one compares the consistency and uniformity of ziggurats spanning hundreds of years, it begins to feel like something more deliberate, more systematic, was at work. Consider the ziggurat of Ur, built around 2100 BCE for King Namu. Standing approximately 100 feet tall, it was faced with fired bricks, many weighing hundreds of kilograms. Workers would have needed sophisticated methods to move and position these bricks precisely. Modern experiments replicating these techniques with only levers, ramps, and manpower suggest it would have taken decades longer than historical records imply. Could it be that knowledge, perhaps imparted by the Anunnaki, shortened construction timelines? Some texts describe machines of the gods, or energy devices used to lift enormous weights. While skeptics dismiss this language as myth, others suggest it could refer to mechanical innovations that predate documented history. The alignment of ziggurats with celestial bodies is another puzzle. Many structures were oriented according to solstices or the rising and setting of key stars. Such precision requires not only observational astronomy, but also mathematical calculation. The Sumerians were indeed advanced in mathematics and astronomy, yet the integration of these sciences into construction on such a grand scale raises questions. Did they merely stumble upon trial and error methods refined over generations, or did the Anunnaki provide direct guidance, an architectural language blending geometry, astronomy, and engineering? It's also essential to consider the social structure required to build these monuments. Tens of thousands of labourers, artisans, and engineers coordinated their efforts over decades. Organisational hierarchies, supply chains for materials, and logistical planning all had to function at peak efficiency. Some suggest that leadership itself was divinely inspired, with kings acting as intermediaries between humans and gods. Could the Anunnaki have been advisors, passing on not only knowledge, but the organisational frameworks necessary for construction on this scale? While the idea of extraterrestrial guidance sounds fantastical, there is a pattern in the archaeological record. Massive structures appear suddenly, at the peak of cultural development, often without clear precursors. Ziggurats are no exception. Each new generation seems to surpass the last in complexity and precision, suggesting that a body of knowledge, perhaps augmented by outsiders, was being systematically applied. Even the materials themselves, bitumen, fired bricks, and stones quarried and transported over long distances, reflect an understanding of durability, load distribution, and environmental resilience. This level of sophistication is extraordinary for any society, let alone one thousands of years removed from modern technology. As we delve deeper into these ancient engineering marvels, one thing becomes clear. The ziggurats were not merely religious monuments. They were laboratories of technology, centres where knowledge of construction, mathematics, and astronomy converged. Whether human or divine, the creators left behind more than structures. They left an enigma. In the next section, we will explore the tools and possible mechanisms that might have allowed the builders to lift and place stones that weigh multiple tons with startling accuracy, bridging the gap between myth and engineering marvel. Imagine standing at the base of a ziggurat under construction. The air is thick with dust, the cries of labourers echoing across the sun-baked plains. Enormous mud bricks, some weighing hundreds of kilograms, are being hoisted into place with remarkable precision. How is it possible that such colossal weights were moved and stacked so efficiently thousands of years before cranes, pulleys, or hydraulic systems? The methods employed remain a profound mystery, and yet clues hidden in texts and archaeological remains hint at something far more advanced than we typically imagine. Sumerian tablets reference lifting devices of the gods, and ramps that touch the heavens, sparking speculation about the technology that could have enabled such feats. Mainstream archaeologists generally interpret these as simple ramps or human labour aided by levers. While ramps were indeed used, the sheer scale of the stones challenges the limits of these methods. Experiments replicating ziggurat construction, using only ramps, rollers, and manpower, indicate that some of the stones would have required hundreds of men and months of effort for a single lift. The consistency and speed of construction recorded in Mesopotamian texts, however, suggest a more efficient method, one that some argue may have been imparted by the Anunnaki themselves. One theory posits the use of advanced mechanical leverage. Simple machines like pulleys, levers, and inclined planes were known, but what if these were employed in combinations far beyond what has survived in the archaeological record? Some texts describe devices with wheels and counterweights capable of lifting and tilting massive stones. Could these have been prototypes of technologies we consider modern? The idea is not as far-fetched as it sounds. Ancient engineers in other parts of the world, Egyptians, Greeks, and Chinese, demonstrated sophisticated knowledge of physics and mechanics, often without leaving clear evidence of the devices themselves. Perhaps Mesopotamia was no different, except that some of its techniques were intentionally kept secret, encoded in myths and allegories about gods and their tools. Then there's the curious mention of energy stones in some Sumerian myths, blocks described as light as air to those who know the secrets. Some fringe theorists suggest that this could refer to materials with properties unknown to modern science, or even a form of anti-gravitational technology. Skeptics dismiss these ideas as metaphorical, yet the texts consistently link these light stones to divine intervention and construction projects. Could the Anunnaki have possessed knowledge of materials or techniques that allowed them to manipulate weight in ways humans could not replicate? Whether literal or symbolic, the descriptions invite speculation about technology that has since vanished from human memory. We also need to consider the possibility of teamwork guided by divine knowledge. Written accounts often describe the Anunnaki supervising construction, providing instructions that seem to anticipate engineering challenges before they arose. A massive stone lifted into place at exactly the right angle, with walls perfectly aligned, speaks to a level of planning that exceeds trial and error methods. If these stories hold even a kernel of truth, they hint at a society, or a partnership between humans and otherworldly beings, that applied science and engineering at a level previously thought impossible for the time. Even the design of the ziggurats themselves may have assisted in construction. Terraced steps created natural platforms for moving stones upward in stages. Materials were likely pre-shaped and standardized, reducing the complexity of lifting and placement. Yet even with such efficiencies, the volume, weight, and precision involved remain staggering. How did ancient labourers coordinate such enormous projects with minimal errors, especially when each terrace required hundreds of tons of material? Some researchers argue that a combination of lost mechanical devices, precise measurements, and Anunnaki guidance may explain the phenomenon. As we examine these monumental constructions, one thing becomes apparent. The mystery is not just about how, but who and what inspired these techniques. Were humans alone capable of creating the impossible, or did knowledge from a higher source tip the scales? The evidence is tantalizing yet frustratingly incomplete. What survives are the ziggurats themselves, testaments to skill, ambition, and perhaps otherworldly collaboration. In the next section, we will explore the incredible alignment of these structures with the stars in the heavens, revealing how cosmic knowledge may have influenced their design and construction. Picture standing atop a Mesopotamian plain at dusk, the sky painted in streaks of gold and violet, stars beginning to emerge one by one. Far below, the terraces of a ziggurat rise like steps to the heavens, perfectly aligned with the cardinal points. From above, it appears that the structure itself is a bridge between Earth and the cosmos, a monumental calendar, a spiritual observatory, and an architectural marvel rolled into one. How could ancient builders, without modern instruments, achieve such precision? The answer may lie in the combination of human observation, mathematics, and knowledge that some claim was bestowed by the Anunnaki. Archaeologists and astronomers alike have marvelled at the alignment of these structures. The ziggurat of Ur, for example, is oriented almost exactly along the north-south axis. Other ziggurats appear to mirror the positions of key stars or constellations that were significant in Sumerian cosmology. Some scholars propose that this was intended for ritual purposes, the rising of specific stars coinciding with seasonal cycles, planting periods, or religious festivals. Yet the precision suggests more than ritual. It indicates an advanced understanding of astronomy, geometry, and surveying techniques, all applied in practical construction. The Sumerians, it should be noted, were among the first civilizations to systematically record celestial movements. They divided the sky into constellations and tracked the motion of planets. Texts describe a cosmic map, where gods were linked to heavenly bodies, guiding not just human destiny, but architecture itself. If these writings are taken literally, they imply a sophisticated approach to engineering, where building orientation and design were directly influenced by astronomical observations. Could the Anunnaki, as described in these same texts, have imparted this celestial knowledge to ensure that ziggurats were constructed with exact cosmic alignment? Consider the implications. Aligning massive stone structures to specific stars or solstices requires not just vision, but tools for measuring angles, calculating distances, and translating those calculations onto a three-dimensional structure. Modern archaeologists trying to replicate these alignments have found it exceedingly difficult, even with contemporary surveying equipment. Ancient methods likely relied on sight lines, gnomons, plumb lines, and water levels. But even so, the uniformity across multiple structures suggests a level of precision that seems almost superhuman. Some theorists argue that the Anunnaki provided guidance or technological insight that allowed these builders to transcend human limitations. The cosmic symbolism of the ziggurats also cannot be ignored. Sumerian myths frequently describe gods descending from the sky to walk among humans. By aligning temples with the heavens, builders may have sought to create a tangible pathway for divine interaction. Each terrace could represent a plane of existence, a spiritual hierarchy, or a ladder to the stars. If the Anunnaki were real, as some interpretations suggest, these alignments may have functioned as practical instructions for ritual observance, energy flow, or even structural engineering. In other words, the heavens were not just decoration, they were an integral blueprint. It is also worth noting that some ziggurats exhibit unexpected geometric regularities. Angles of ascent, terrace dimensions, and brick placement appear to follow a mathematical logic that correlates with celestial cycles. Could this be coincidence, or does it hint at lost knowledge, encoded in stone by hands guided by experience beyond what we normally attribute to early humans? The more we analyze these patterns, the more it seems that the architects were operating with a combination of observational science, ritual purpose, and perhaps guidance from beings who understood the cosmos in ways humanity was only beginning to grasp. As night falls over the plains and stars blaze overhead, the ziggurats stand as silent witnesses to a forgotten era. They are not merely monuments, they are codices of stone, encrypted with astronomical and technological wisdom. Each terrace, each alignment, and each massive brick invites questions. How much of this was human ingenuity, and how much was imparted knowledge? Did the Anunnaki, if they existed, leave us not only monuments but a message, a legacy of understanding that transcends time? In the next section, we will explore the materials themselves, the composition of bricks, bitumen, and other substances used in ziggurat construction, and examine whether the technology behind these elements could have come from the gods themselves, or if humanity discovered these methods entirely on its own. Step closer to the base of a ziggurat, and you begin to notice the materials themselves, the fired bricks, sun-baked mud, and layers of bitumen that compose its towering terraces. To the untrained eye, they may appear simple, even mundane, but upon closer examination, these substances reveal remarkable properties, demonstrating an understanding of durability, weight distribution, and construction efficiency that seems almost impossible for a civilization millennia removed from modern technology. How could humans, with rudimentary tools and no advanced chemistry, create materials capable of supporting hundreds of tons with minimal deformation? The answer, some speculate, may lie in knowledge imparted by the Anunnaki. Fired bricks, the primary facing material of ziggurats such as urs, were made from a mix of clay, water, and straw, then baked in kilns at high temperatures. Each brick had to be uniform in size and shape, allowing for precise placement across massive structures. Mudbricks formed the bulk of the core, compacted and layered carefully to ensure stability. Bitumen, a naturally occurring tar-like substance, was applied as mortar, waterproofing, and adhesive. This combination of materials produced terraces that resisted erosion, earthquakes, and the harsh Mesopotamian climate. Ancient builders achieved remarkable longevity, with some ziggurats still partially standing thousands of years later. Yet these materials alone do not explain the impossible aspect. Consider the weight of each terrace, the sheer volume of bricks required, and the precision with which each layer was stacked. Modern engineers attempting to replicate these techniques encounter significant challenges. Sun-baked bricks can crack under stress, mud cores can shift, bitumen must be carefully applied to maintain cohesion. The uniformity and scale of ziggurats suggest that these civilizations either had extensive trial and error experience, or that someone with advanced knowledge guided the process. Could this someone have been the Anunnaki, as described in Sumerian texts, imparting techniques that maximize structural integrity using locally available materials? There are also curious references in ancient tablets to firestones and black resin that binds like the heavens. While some scholars interpret these as metaphorical, others propose they describe specialized treatments or additives that enhance the strength of bricks and mortar. For example, combining certain minerals with clay could improve hardness, reduce cracking, or allow faster drying without compromising durability. If the Anunnaki shared such insights, even partially encoded in myth or ritual instructions, it could explain how these societies achieved construction feats that modern experimentation struggles to replicate. Another fascinating aspect is the standardization of materials. Bricks were often made to exact dimensions, allowing workers to calculate load distribution and terrace angles with impressive accuracy. This suggests more than ad hoc construction. It implies knowledge of structural engineering principles, encoded perhaps in measurements, rituals, or oral traditions. Some tablets describe bricks, measured in the hand of the gods, hinting at a connection between divine oversight and human craftsmanship. Whether literal or allegorical, the message is clear. The materials and techniques were considered sacred, integral to both the physical and spiritual success of the structure. Bitumen, too, deserves special attention. This natural adhesive not only bonded bricks together, but also provided flexibility, absorbing stresses that might otherwise crack the structure. Its widespread use indicates a sophisticated understanding of materials science. Yet even with these innovations, moving and placing the massive quantities required for multi-tiered ziggurats remained a Herculean task. Coordinating thousands of bricks and tons of mortar while maintaining precise angles and alignment demands extraordinary organization and potentially knowledge beyond the average human experience of the era. These elements, the bricks, the mud cores, the bitumen, represent more than construction materials. They embody an intersection of science, ritual, and perhaps extraterrestrial insight. Each terrace, each layer, each carefully baked brick invites the question: were humans alone responsible for the precision and scale of these monuments? Or did knowledge from beings like the Anunnaki play a role in shaping their construction? As we continue to peel back the layers of this mystery, it becomes clear that understanding the materials is only the first step. How they were moved, lifted, and assembled atop one another presents an even greater puzzle. In the next section, we will investigate the logistics of construction, the manpower, organization, and possibly lost technologies that allowed these enormous ziggurats to rise with precision, bringing us closer to uncovering the methods behind these impossible structures. Visualize a sprawling construction site under the blazing Mesopotamian sun. Thousands of laborers, artisans, and supervisors move with purpose, hauling bricks, mixing mud, and arranging terraces. The scene is chaotic yet astonishingly organized, resembling a choreographed performance more than simple human labor. How did ancient civilizations coordinate such enormous projects with limited technology, ensuring precision at every level? The mystery deepens when we realize the scale of manpower and logistics required to build ziggurats like those at Ur or Babylon, projects that could span decades. Historical records indicate that labor was often conscripted from surrounding communities, supplemented by skilled artisans who specialized in brickmaking, masonry, and surveying. Yet sheer numbers alone cannot explain the efficiency of construction. Imagine the challenge of transporting hundreds of thousands of bricks, some weighing hundreds of kilograms, across uneven terrain without modern vehicles or cranes. Coordinating teams to lift, place and align materials with exacting precision requires more than human discipline. It demands knowledge, planning, and possibly instruction from those who understood advanced engineering. Sumerian texts describe overseers appointed to manage labor crews, assigning tasks, calculating workload, and monitoring quality. Some tablets even record divine guidance in timing work cycles, aligning labor with celestial events or omens. While mainstream historians often interpret these as ceremonial, there is a practical dimension as well. Planning construction around seasonal floods, weather patterns, and labor availability would have been critical to avoid disaster. Could this blend of administrative acumen and religious ritual be the missing key to understanding how such massive projects were completed efficiently? The scale of the workforce suggests a hierarchical system resembling a modern project management structure. Chief architects and master builders likely directed specialized teams, one group preparing mud bricks, another transporting materials, and yet another overseeing placement and alignment. Such organization, combined with tools, ramps, and leverage systems, may explain how structures weighing thousands of tons were constructed without collapsing under their own weight. Some theorists argue that the precision and coordination hint at knowledge imparted by the Anunnaki, providing a blueprint for efficiency that humans alone might have struggled to discover. Moreover, logistical challenges extended beyond manpower. Materials had to be sourced, transported, and stored, all while maintaining their structural integrity. Mud bricks had to dry correctly, bitumen had to be heated and applied at precise intervals, and terraces had to be levelled with astonishing accuracy. Coordinating these tasks over decades requires meticulous record-keeping and communication systems, some of which may have been encoded in cuneiform tablets, inscriptions, or oral traditions. It is in these details, often overlooked in favour of the final monumental structure, that hints of advanced knowledge emerge. The involvement of the Anunnaki, according to Sumerian mythology, provides another intriguing layer. Many texts describe these beings as supervisors, engineers, and instructors, imparting knowledge of tools, techniques, and organization. Whether literal or symbolic, these stories emphasize the integration of divine wisdom with human effort. Could the tales of gods directing construction crews be metaphorical representations of lost technological methods? Or perhaps, as some speculate, they reflect a real partnership between humans and beings with knowledge far beyond our own. Coordination, precision, and planning are inseparable from the final outcome, a towering ziggurat rising from the plains like a bridge to the heavens. Without effective management of labor and materials, even the best technology would fail. In this light, the workforce itself becomes a crucial element of the mystery, a human manifestation of knowledge, potentially guided, inspired, or taught by the Anunnaki. As we prepare to explore the next section, we will examine the incredible engineering feats that allowed these workers to move massive stones and bricks with precision. We'll delve into the ramps, levers, and techniques that may have been shared by the gods, revealing the intersection of human effort and technological marvel that made these impossible structures possible. Imagine standing on a massive ziggurat terrace, gazing at a single stone weighing several tons, poised to become part of the next level. How would ancient workers, armed with only simple tools, move and position such weight with precision? Modern engineers attempting to replicate these feats often hit the limits of human capability. Yet somehow, the builders of Mesopotamia managed not only to transport these stones, but to place them in perfect alignment, forming structures that have survived thousands of years. The question lingers, how did they accomplish the impossible? Historical evidence suggests that ramps, levers, and inclined planes were the primary tools used to move large stones. Ramp systems, often constructed of mud, brick, or wood, allowed stones to be dragged upward in a series of stages. Levers provided mechanical advantage, reducing the effort required by dozens or even hundreds of labourers. Simple rollers, logs, or cylindrical stones might have been employed to transport materials across flat terrain. While these methods are theoretically plausible, the scale of some ziggurats raises doubts about whether human labour alone could achieve such feats in a reasonable time frame. Sumerian texts offer tantalising hints. Some inscriptions refer to divine guidance in lifting, describing tools as gifts from the heavens and workers as following instructions from the gods. Whether metaphorical or literal, these accounts suggest that ancient builders had access to knowledge or techniques that exceeded conventional wisdom. Could the Anunnaki, as the myths imply, have provided methods for reducing friction, calculating load distribution, or coordinating massive teams of labourers in ways lost to modern understanding? The construction of ramps alone would have been a monumental project. To lift multi-ton blocks hundreds of feet, ramps had to be carefully designed for slope, stability, and alignment with the intended terrace. Some archaeologists speculate that ramps were temporary, dismantled after construction, which explains why evidence is scarce. Others propose more radical theories: inclined planes combined with counterweights, pulleys, or even early forms of hoists. Ancient texts occasionally reference machines of the gods, capable of moving heavy stones effortlessly, a phrase that has sparked debate among researchers and fringe theorists alike. Coordination was crucial. Imagine dozens of labourers pushing, pulling, and leveraging each stone in synchrony. Miscalculations could result in collapse, injury, or catastrophic structural failure. The precision observed in surviving ziggurats suggests not only careful supervision, but perhaps an understanding of physics and engineering principles. For instance, placing stones at exact angles ensures proper load distribution, reducing the risk of sagging or collapse. Some theorists argue that this knowledge was encoded in myths or passed down by the Anunnaki, giving humans the ability to manipulate weight far beyond what they could achieve through trial and error alone. In addition to ramps and levers, the shape and preparation of the stones themselves may have aided the process. Some evidence suggests that stones were pre-shaped, reducing friction and allowing for easier placement. Workers might have applied lubricants, water, mud, or bitumen to surfaces to facilitate movement. Combined with carefully timed human effort, these methods could explain how enormous stones were lifted without modern machinery. Yet even with these techniques, the scale and precision remain astonishing, fueling speculation that additional knowledge or technology played a role. The interplay between human effort and possible divine instruction underscores a recurring theme in ziggurat construction: the combination of ingenuity, observation, and perhaps knowledge imparted from beyond. These methods allowed builders to achieve what would otherwise have been impossible, raising not only physical structures but also questions about the limits of human potential and the role of the Anunnaki in shaping early civilization. As we move into the next section, we will explore the geometric precision of ziggurats, how angles, terraces, and proportions align with both practical engineering needs and cosmic principles, revealing yet another layer of the Anunnaki mystery. Step back and look at a ziggurat from a distance, and what appears as a simple stepped pyramid suddenly reveals its intricacies. Each terrace aligns perfectly with the others, each angle calculated with astonishing consistency, and each brick meticulously placed. How did ancient builders achieve such geometric precision without modern instruments? And why would they go to such lengths? The answer may lie at the intersection of mathematics, cosmology, and, according to some interpretations, the guidance of the Anunnaki. The ziggurat is not a random accumulation of bricks, but a carefully designed structure. Terraces follow consistent ratios, walls are perfectly perpendicular, and slopes allow stability and structural integrity. Some scholars have noted that certain ziggurats exhibit ratios that mirror celestial patterns or sacred geometry, hinting at a symbolic as well as practical function. This suggests that builders were not only concerned with lifting massive stones, but also with harmonizing the structure with abstract principles of order, proportion, and possibly cosmic alignment. Mathematics in Mesopotamia was surprisingly advanced. The Sumerians used a sexagesimal, base 60 system, which allowed precise calculations for angles, distances, and proportions. They also understood concepts of area, volume, and symmetry, applying these to everyday architecture and monumental constructions alike. By standardizing brick sizes and terrace heights, builders could calculate load distribution, balance weight, and ensure long-term stability. But even with these tools, achieving perfect alignment across structures hundreds of feet tall is no small feat. The meticulous application of geometry in ziggurat design raises a question: were humans alone responsible, or was this advanced knowledge supplemented by otherworldly insight? Sumerian texts occasionally refer to the hand of the gods, measuring the earth and guiding construction, hinting at a divine role in ensuring geometric perfection. While traditional historians might interpret this metaphorically, the precision observed in surviving ziggurats invites speculation. Could the Anunnaki have provided a practical framework for achieving mathematical accuracy, encoded in symbolic language? Some theorists propose that teachings hidden in myths or ritual practices contained instructions on proportions, angles, and spatial planning, enabling builders to achieve outcomes that would otherwise seem improbable. The geometry also had practical applications. Sloped terraces distribute weight efficiently, reducing pressure on lower levels and preventing structural collapse. Symmetry ensures balance, while precise corner alignments allow for predictable responses to environmental factors such as wind and temperature fluctuations. The combination of symbolic meaning, mathematical precision, and structural function suggests a sophisticated understanding of engineering principles, far beyond what one might expect from a society without modern tools. Yet, the uniformity across multiple ziggurats over centuries implies a systematic transfer of knowledge, possibly with divine guidance. Beyond the physical structure, there is the symbolic dimension. Terraces may represent ascending levels of existence, celestial spheres, or steps toward enlightenment, connecting human endeavor with cosmic order. Aligning geometry with spiritual symbolism reflects an intentional integration of mathematics, architecture, and belief. If the Anunnaki did impart knowledge, this fusion of practical engineering with metaphysical purpose might explain why ziggurats exhibit such remarkable precision. Combining human labor, divine insight, and astronomical observation into one cohesive design. As we continue exploring, the next section will investigate the hidden astronomical knowledge encoded in ziggurat geometry, revealing how proportional design may have mirrored celestial movements and seasons. This will uncover yet another layer of mystery. The possibility that these structures were not only feats of engineering, but also tools for understanding the cosmos, bridging heaven and earth in ways that challenge our understanding of ancient science. As night falls over ancient Mesopotamia, imagine gazing up at a sky brimming with stars, their light mirrored by the terraces of a ziggurat below. To the casual observer, these stepped pyramids are magnificent monuments of mud and brick. But to those who look closer, they may also be cosmic instruments, carefully designed to track celestial movements, solstices, and seasonal cycles. How did civilizations thousands of years ago manage to integrate such astronomical precision into structures that were, at first glance, entirely earthly? The Sumerians were among the first cultures to record celestial observations systematically. They divided the sky into constellations, tracked planetary motion, and developed a calendar based on lunar and solar cycles. Ziggurats appear to reflect this knowledge. Some are aligned with the cardinal points, others oriented to the rising or setting of particular stars. The terrace angles and proportional design may have served as reference points for measuring the heavens, suggesting that these structures were functional observatories as much as temples. How did they accomplish this without modern tools? Some suggest the Anunnaki played a role, transmitting knowledge of astronomy and measurement that allowed humans to achieve remarkable precision. One striking example is the Ziggurat of Ur, which aligns almost perfectly with the cardinal north-south axis. Scholars believe this alignment was intentional, likely linked to the observation of certain stars or the timing of religious festivals. Other ziggurats show alignments with celestial bodies significant in Sumerian mythology, such as Venus, the Sun, and the Moon. By embedding astronomical knowledge into the architecture, builders effectively created three-dimensional star maps, turning sacred structures into instruments for tracking celestial events. Could this knowledge have been imparted directly by the Anunnaki, as legends suggest? Or was it the result of meticulous observation accumulated over generations? The integration of astronomy into ziggurat construction also had practical applications. Alignments with solstices and equinoxes helped mark agricultural cycles, predicting planting and harvest times. This knowledge was crucial in Mesopotamia, where flooding of the Tigris and Euphrates dictated survival. Precision placement of terraces, steps, and corners may have served as functional markers, allowing priests and astronomers to observe the heavens from elevated platforms with minimal obstruction. In this sense, ziggurats were both religious monuments and scientific instruments, blending spiritual practice with practical necessity. Some theorists point to unusual features in certain ziggurats, such as terraces offset in ways that correspond to lunar or planetary cycles. These features are subtle yet consistent, hinting at a deliberate application of astronomical principles. Ancient tablets also mention the paths of the gods across the sky, perhaps encoding instructions on aligning monuments with specific celestial events. If the Anunnaki were responsible for teaching or guiding these practices, it would explain the remarkable precision and the enduring mystery surrounding these alignments. The combination of geometry, proportional design, and astronomical alignment transforms our understanding of ziggurats. They were more than religious centres. They were observatories, educational tools, and perhaps even repositories of knowledge. Each terrace, each angle, and each placement of stone could encode lessons in mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. Wisdom that might have been gifted by beings capable of understanding the heavens far better than humans of the era. As we prepare for the next section, we will investigate the symbolic and ritual significance of ziggurats, exploring how their design, cosmic alignment, and construction methods may have been intertwined with Sumerian beliefs, the Anunnaki, and the human desire to bridge heaven and earth. Imagine ascending the terraces of a ziggurat at sunrise, each step bringing you closer to the heavens. The air hums with anticipation as priests and worshippers prepare for ceremonial rites. These monumental structures were more than architectural feats. They were sacred spaces, physical representations of cosmic order, and, according to some interpretations, bridges between humans and the Anunnaki. How did their design, orientation, and construction embody ritual and symbolism, and why did ancient civilizations invest such immense resources into creating them? Ziggurats functioned as temples, dedicated to specific deities, where religious leaders performed rites meant to maintain balance between the earthly realm and the divine. The Sumerians believed that gods dwelled in the heavens, and the ziggurats served as a tangible connection, a stairway upon which mortals could symbolically ascend. The stepped terraces may represent hierarchical levels of existence, spiritual progression, or the divine order itself. Every design choice, from the height of each step to the alignment with celestial bodies, was imbued with meaning, integrating the spiritual and the practical. The architectural design also reinforced authority. Kings and high priests often sponsored the construction, using ziggurats to legitimize their rule. By associating themselves with monumental sacred structures, they conveyed the impression of divine favor and guidance. Some myths suggest that the Anunnaki directly influenced these projects, providing both knowledge and oversight. Whether metaphorical or literal, this reinforces the idea that ziggurats were more than buildings. They were instruments of social, spiritual, and cosmic governance. Symbolism extended to materials and proportions. Bitumen, fired bricks, and mud cores were not just functional, they were considered sacred. Some texts describe rituals performed during construction to imbue the structure with spiritual energy. Each terrace may have represented a realm of existence, or a layer of spiritual significance, aligning the material world with celestial and metaphysical principles. This duality of purpose, practical engineering and sacred symbolism, highlights the depth of understanding embedded in these monuments. Ceremonial activities on ziggurats often coincided with astronomical events, reinforcing the integration of ritual and science. Festivals timed to the solstices or the appearance of key stars demonstrated the society's grasp of celestial patterns and allowed priests to interpret divine will. These observances were not merely symbolic, they also coordinated agricultural cycles and social organization. The ziggurat, therefore, acted as a multifunctional tool, a temple, observatory, and center of community life, bridging the human, divine, and cosmic spheres. The recurring presence of the Anunnaki in Sumerian text further complicates the narrative. These deities were often depicted as overseeing the construction, providing knowledge and tools and guiding ceremonial practices. Even if one interprets these accounts metaphorically, the stories indicate that the ziggurats were conceived as more than human projects. They were collaborative endeavors involving divine insight, advanced knowledge, and human labor. Each stone, terrace, and alignment may have carried encoded information, instructions, or symbolic messages from the gods. As we consider the ritual and symbolic significance, it becomes clear that ziggurats were designed to inspire awe, demonstrate power, and connect humanity with forces beyond comprehension. They were both practical and mystical, blending engineering mastery with spiritual insight. The interplay of physical construction, celestial alignment, and ritual use reflects a sophisticated worldview, one that seamlessly merged science, religion, and myth. In the next section, we will explore the Anunnaki's potential technological influence on Sumerian society at large, examining how their alleged knowledge may have extended beyond architecture to agriculture, metallurgy, and mathematics, painting a fuller picture of their role in shaping civilization. As the sun rises over the plains of Mesopotamia, the ziggurats stand as silent witnesses to human ambition, but they may also hint at a much broader story. The Sumerians, credited with some of humanity's earliest advancements, did not limit their ingenuity to monumental architecture. Agriculture, metallurgy, mathematics, and astronomy all flourished simultaneously. Some theorists argue that the sudden emergence of these technologies was no coincidence. They suggest that the Anunnaki, described in myth as godlike visitors from the heavens, played a role in accelerating human progress. Consider agriculture. The Sumerians developed intricate irrigation systems channeling the waters of the Tigris and Euphrates to support vast fields of barley, wheat, and flax. They transformed marshy terrain into fertile farmland, a feat requiring not only observation but careful engineering. Texts describe beings who taught humans how to manipulate soil, harness water, and predict seasonal cycles. Could this be a poetic metaphor for knowledge passed down by enlightened humans? Or evidence, as some speculate, of advanced instruction from the Anunnaki? Metallurgy offers another intriguing clue. The Sumerians mastered copper smelting, bronze alloy creation, and even early techniques for casting metals into precise shapes. Some tablets refer to tools from heaven capable of shaping materials in ways beyond ordinary skill. While human ingenuity undoubtedly played a central role, the rapid development of complex metallurgy in multiple regions simultaneously has led some researchers to speculate that this knowledge may have been accelerated by outside influence, consistent with the idea of Anunnaki mentorship. Mathematics, too, shows signs of remarkable sophistication. The Sumerians employed a sexagesimal, base 60 system, which underpins our measurement of time and angles even today. They applied geometry for surveying land, calculating volumes, and designing monumental structures. Ancient texts suggest that deities imparted practical instructions, ensuring accuracy in both daily life and large-scale construction projects. Could these divine teachings have been encoded knowledge, allowing humans to achieve precision far beyond what might be expected from trial and error alone? Astronomy also flourished in this period. The Sumerians tracked planetary movements, created calendars, and observed celestial phenomena with remarkable accuracy. These observations were not purely theoretical. They guided agriculture, religious festivals, and political decisions. Some myths describe the Anunnaki descending to instruct humans in the heavens' secrets, suggesting that the same beings associated with ziggurat construction may have influenced other domains of technology and knowledge. The integration of practical science with spiritual teaching is a recurring theme, hinting at a holistic approach to civilization building. Even everyday tools and infrastructure may bear the mark of advanced knowledge. Clay tablets depict standardized weights, measurement systems, and engineering plans for canals and city layouts. Roads, reservoirs, and urban planning appear remarkably sophisticated for the era, implying systematic instruction or codified knowledge transfer. Whether interpreted as divine guidance or symbolic storytelling, the evidence points to an impressive leap in human capability occurring alongside the legends of the Anunnaki. By examining these broader technological accomplishments, a pattern emerges. The same society that built monumental ziggurats also developed agriculture, metallurgy, mathematics, and astronomy in parallel. The speed, integration, and precision of these advances raise a persistent question. Were humans alone responsible, or was there an external catalyst, knowledge, mentorship, or technology, that facilitated this remarkable evolution? The Anunnaki, whether literal or symbolic, are consistently portrayed as the bearers of wisdom, providing insight that may have shaped civilization's trajectory. In the next section, we will explore the most enigmatic aspect of Anunnaki interaction, their alleged role in shaping human genetics and intelligence, a theory that pushes the boundary of myth and science, offering a deeper perspective on how these beings may have influenced the rise of complex societies. Imagine the dawn of civilization not as a slow, gradual emergence but as a sudden leap, a moment when humans gained the knowledge and skill to build cities, cultivate crops, and reach for the stars. Some interpretations of Sumerian texts suggest that this leap was no accident. The Anunnaki, described as godlike beings descending from the heavens, may have played a role not only in teaching humans practical skills, but in enhancing their cognitive abilities. Could these myths be hinting at an ancient intervention that accelerated human intelligence? The concept of Anunnaki involvement in human development comes primarily from translations of Sumerian cuneiform tablets, which describe beings who formed men from clay and breathed life into their creations. While many scholars treat these passages as metaphorical, some theorists argue they may encode an actual process, genetic manipulation, or enhancement. The narrative implies a purposeful creation or modification of early humans, giving them the faculties necessary to understand complex systems, from agriculture and mathematics to architecture and astronomy. If we take these accounts at face value, the implications are staggering. Humans would have been equipped not only with physical labour capabilities, but with the intelligence to innovate, observe patterns, and transmit knowledge across generations. The sudden appearance of writing, mathematics, and monumental construction in Sumeria aligns with this theory. Instead of a slow accumulation of skills, society appears to have undergone a rapid acceleration, a leap that coincides with the supposed presence of the Anunnaki. Some ancient texts go further, describing the Anunnaki teaching humans specific techniques for creating tools, managing labour, and observing celestial phenomena. By imparting this knowledge alongside potential cognitive enhancements, these beings may have provided a foundation for technological and societal development unparalleled in other contemporary civilizations. From building massive ziggurats to developing precise calendars, the early Sumerians exhibited capabilities that would normally take millennia to evolve, yet appear to have emerged within a few generations. Critics argue that these interpretations are purely speculative, and that myth should not be conflated with fact. Yet the pattern is difficult to ignore. Advanced urban planning, metallurgy, mathematics, astronomy, and monumental architecture all appear in a relatively condensed time frame. Could this indicate that humanity received external guidance, technological, organizational, and possibly genetic, from the very beings celebrated in myth as gods? The Sumerian connection between the Anunnaki and ziggurat construction becomes particularly intriguing in this context. If these beings had a hand in shaping human intelligence, then their influence would extend beyond the physical structures to the very minds of those who built them. Each terrace, each brick, and each astronomical alignment could be seen as a reflection not only of divine knowledge, but of human capability enhanced by that guidance. The combination of practical skill, cognitive insight, and spiritual understanding may explain why ziggurats were constructed with such precision, scale, and symbolic depth. This theory also raises profound philosophical questions. If early humans were influenced, or even genetically guided by beings from another world, what does this mean for our understanding of history, evolution, and human potential? Were our achievements purely our own, or the product of collaboration with a higher intelligence? The Sumerian myths, while enigmatic, consistently point to a relationship between humanity and the Anunnaki that transcends mere mythology, suggesting that the origins of civilization may be far more mysterious than conventional history allows. In the next section, we will examine the possible technologies the Anunnaki might have shared with humans, from construction tools to energy devices, exploring how these innovations could have made the impossible feats of ziggurat construction achievable and sustainable. Step onto a ziggurat construction site in your imagination, and you might notice tools unlike any described in standard history books. Massive levers, pulley-like mechanisms, and references in ancient texts to machines of the gods hint at a level of technological sophistication that seems almost impossible for early humans. Could the Anunnaki, according to Sumerian myths, have introduced technology that enabled these monumental structures to rise with precision, efficiency, and durability far beyond human expectations? The cuneiform tablets provide tantalizing clues. Some inscriptions describe lifting devices that weigh the heavens, and stones that move at the command of the gods. Mainstream archaeologists often interpret such passages symbolically, assuming metaphorical language for divine intervention. Yet when paired with the evidence of massive stone transport, terraced alignment and precise geometry, the descriptions suggest there may have been actual tools or techniques, lost to history, that facilitated construction on an unprecedented scale. One proposed technology involves advanced leverage systems. While simple levers and inclined planes are known to have existed, texts imply devices that could lift multi-ton stones with minimal human effort. Some fringe theorists even speculate about counterweight cranes or rotational platforms, described allegorically as God's hands in the tablets. Even if these interpretations are symbolic, they may encode practical instructions, hinting at methods humans could understand and implement under the guidance of more knowledgeable beings. Another intriguing possibility involves energy-assisted lifting. Certain Sumerian myths describe stones that float on air, or light as the breath of gods. While these could be metaphorical expressions of clever engineering techniques, some theorists suggest they might reference lost technologies, mechanical, pneumatic, or even gravitational, that reduced the apparent weight of massive building materials. If the Anunnaki imparted such knowledge, it would explain how enormous ziggurats could be constructed with relative speed and accuracy, defying expectations based on human labour alone. The tools may also have extended beyond lifting. Measurements, levelling instruments, and surveying devices are mentioned in mythic language, hinting at devices capable of ensuring precise angles, alignment with celestial bodies, and correct terrace proportions. Standard archaeological interpretations often assume primitive sightlines or rudimentary plumb lines, yet the mathematical and astronomical precision of ziggurats suggests more sophisticated instrumentation may have been in use. These tools could have been conceptual, passed down orally, or through symbolic instruction, or literal, physical mechanisms now lost to time. Even the organization of construction could be considered a form of technology. Texts describe coordinated teams, structured hierarchies, and meticulous scheduling, essentially project management on a massive scale. This organizational technology, combined with physical tools and possible Anunnaki guidance, enabled humans to achieve feats that would otherwise seem impossible for the era. The combination of practical skill, cognitive ability, and divine instruction paints a picture of a civilization operating at the intersection of myth, science, and engineering. Consider the cumulative effect: energy devices or leverage systems to move stones, instruments to ensure precise alignment, and human coordination guided by cosmic knowledge. Together, these elements create an almost incomprehensible synergy, allowing construction of structures that rise higher, endure longer, and align more perfectly than one would expect from early human societies alone. If the Anunnaki indeed provided these technologies, their influence extends far beyond legend. They shaped the very capabilities of civilization itself. As we transition into the next section, we will examine the mysteries of ziggurat interiors, exploring hidden chambers, tunnels, and possible repositories of knowledge that may have held the secrets of Anunnaki technology, further bridging myth, archaeology, and speculation. Imagine stepping inside a ziggurat, descending a narrow passageway lined with massive bricks, and entering a dimly lit chamber. What was this space used for? Some archaeologists suggest storage or religious purposes, but legends hint at something more extraordinary: repositories of knowledge, energy sources, or sacred devices provided by the Anunnaki. Hidden chambers within ziggurats remain among the most tantalizing mysteries of Mesopotamian architecture, suggesting that these monuments may have served functions beyond what is visible from the outside. The interiors of many ziggurats are surprisingly complex. Some contain subterranean tunnels, staircases, and small rooms whose purpose remains unclear. In excavations revealed what appeared to be maintenance corridors or ritual spaces, carefully constructed and deliberately concealed. Texts occasionally reference the heart of the temple, or secret halls of the gods, implying a space reserved for divine interaction, specialized tools, or perhaps knowledge too sacred to be publicly disclosed. Could these chambers have held devices for measurement, lifting, or energy manipulation, echoing the mysterious technologies attributed to the Anunnaki? One theory proposes that hidden chambers served as storage for precise instruments and tools used during construction. Ancient tablets describe items that measure the heavens and weigh the mountains, which some suggest could correspond to lost devices now hidden or destroyed. By placing these tools in concealed spaces, builders could protect them from misuse or theft, ensuring that critical knowledge remained under the control of priests or specialists. Such practices would parallel modern protocols for safeguarding sensitive technologies, hinting at a surprisingly sophisticated approach to information security in ancient times. Another possibility involves ritual or symbolic use. Certain chambers may have acted as energy conduits, aligning with terraces, corners, and celestial points to amplify spiritual or cosmic forces. Sumerian myths repeatedly link the Anunnaki to sacred knowledge hidden from ordinary humans, implying that these chambers were more than storage. They were sanctuaries where divine wisdom could be accessed, interpreted, or transmitted. This aligns with the broader pattern of ziggurats as both functional and symbolic structures, bridging human capability and cosmic understanding. Some researchers speculate about practical applications as well. Could chambers have been used to coordinate construction techniques, store prefabricated materials, or even serve as experimental laboratories for testing architectural or metallurgical methods? The precision of ziggurat construction suggests that the builders possessed not only physical skill, but also knowledge of materials, leverage, and geometry. Hidden spaces could have provided a controlled environment to refine techniques before applying them to massive terraces, a method consistent with the idea of teaching humans under the guidance of the Anunnaki. The mysterious chambers also raise questions about ritual secrecy. Ancient texts describe ceremonies performed only by priests or chosen individuals, emphasizing that certain knowledge was restricted to a select few. If the Anunnaki were involved, these spaces could have been designed to ensure that divine instructions were transmitted accurately, safely, and without interference. In essence, ziggurats may have functioned as combined observatories, laboratories, and sacred vaults, their hidden interiors protecting the heart of both technological and spiritual knowledge. Finally, the very existence of these concealed chambers underscores a recurring theme. Ziggurats were more than monuments. They were repositories of human ambition, divine instruction, and possibly otherworldly technology. Each hidden corridor and chamber invites speculation. What secrets were stored, what experiments conducted, and what messages were encoded for future generations. Even today, the mystery persists, leaving us to ponder the interplay between human ingenuity and the knowledge attributed to the Anunnaki. In the next section, we will explore the role of celestial alignments in guiding ziggurat rituals and hidden chamber placement, revealing yet another layer of sophistication in these enigmatic structures. Picture the sun rising over a ziggurat, casting long shadows across its terraces, while the first stars begin to fade from the dawn sky. Every angle, every step, and every hidden chamber seems intentionally positioned to correspond with celestial patterns. This is no coincidence. The alignment of ziggurats with the heavens was not merely symbolic. It guided rituals, informed construction, and may have encoded advanced astronomical knowledge, a practice some suggest was taught or overseen by the Anunnaki. The Sumerians meticulously observed the skies, tracking stars, planets, and the lunar cycle. Many ziggurats, such as the great structures at Ur and Babylon, were oriented toward cardinal points and celestial events like solstices or the rising of key stars. These alignments served multiple purposes. Practically, they helped mark agricultural seasons, festivals, and religious observances. Symbolically, they reinforced the connection between humans and the divine, suggesting that the gods themselves walked the cosmos and influenced earthly affairs. If the Anunnaki were involved, their knowledge of astronomy would have ensured that these structures functioned as both temples and observatories. Hidden chambers, in particular, may have been positioned according to celestial alignments. Some researchers propose that certain rooms corresponded to the rising or setting of specific stars, allowing priests to conduct rituals in harmony with cosmic cycles. This combination of architecture and astronomy would have amplified spiritual significance, while guiding practical activities such as observation, timekeeping, and planning for agricultural cycles. Aligning sacred spaces with celestial phenomena reflects a sophisticated understanding of both engineering and ritual purpose. Consider the precision required. Builders had to calculate angles, distances, and terrace heights to ensure that chambers, terraces, and staircases aligned with the heavens. Instruments and methods may have included gnomons, sightlines, and water levels, but the consistency across multiple ziggurats suggests that more advanced knowledge was involved. Some theorists argue that the Anunnaki provided techniques encoded in myths or passed orally, enabling humans to construct spaces that harmonized with the stars in ways that seem almost impossible for the time. The symbolic dimension is equally compelling. Aligning rituals and chambers with celestial events reinforced the Sumerians' cosmology, that humans, gods, and the universe were interconnected. Each hidden chamber, each terrace, and each altar may have been positioned to represent specific cosmic principles, allowing rituals to enact and maintain cosmic balance. From this perspective, the ziggurat becomes a living model of the heavens, with humans acting as intermediaries between earth and sky. Moreover, celestial alignment may have influenced technological applications. The placement of stones, terraces, and chambers according to astronomical principles would have optimized structural stability and load distribution. For example, the orientation of walls and ramps might have minimized sun exposure on certain terraces or facilitated energy transfer, whether metaphorical or literal. If the Anunnaki imparted knowledge of such effects, their guidance would have bridged science, engineering, and spirituality in a holistic way. Finally, these alignments raise profound questions about intent and intelligence. Were these features purely religious, or did they encode practical knowledge for future generations? Could hidden chambers and terraces serve as educational spaces, storing wisdom about astronomy, engineering, and ritual practice? The precision and consistency suggest deliberate planning informed by advanced knowledge, reinforcing the idea that ziggurats were more than monumental temples. They were multifunctional instruments linking humans, technology, and the cosmos. In the next section, we will explore the role of water, hydraulic systems, and potential energy sources in ziggurat construction, shedding light on how the Anunnaki may have taught humans to harness natural resources in extraordinary ways. Imagine walking near a ziggurat with the Tigris or Euphrates flowing nearby. Water, a vital resource for survival, may have also played a central role in the construction and operation of these monumental structures. Beyond irrigation, some researchers suggest that the Sumerians harnessed water as a tool for moving massive stones, stabilizing foundations, and even powering unknown devices, a technology that, according to some interpretations, may have been taught by the Anunnaki. The first practical application was likely hydraulic engineering for construction. Moving multi-ton bricks and stone blocks across uneven terrain posed enormous challenges. Water channels and canals could have been used to float or lubricate materials, reducing friction and making transportation easier. Some Sumerian texts describe canals of the gods guiding the flow of mountain stones, possibly hinting at methods of using water to facilitate construction on an unprecedented scale. These passages may encode practical instructions hidden in mythic language. Beyond logistics, water played a structural role. Foundations of ziggurats often required stabilization in flood-prone regions. Mud bricks, while sturdy when dry, are vulnerable to moisture. Advanced knowledge of drainage, water flow, and compacting techniques would have been essential to prevent collapse. The Sumerians may have designed layered foundations, including bitumen and clay, to control moisture and distribute weight evenly. Some theorists suggest that such engineering knowledge was imparted by the Anunnaki, given the sophisticated understanding of fluid dynamics implied by surviving structures. Hydraulics may also have intersected with energy use. Ancient texts occasionally reference waters of power and streams of the gods that could lift or move objects. While mainstream archaeology interprets these as metaphorical, alternative theorists propose that controlled water pressure or fluid-assisted mechanical devices could have reduced the labour required to raise massive stones. The principle is simple in concept: a combination of channels, ramps, and counterweights, aided by water flow, could amplify human effort, effectively providing a form of mechanical assistance without modern machinery. Water may also have had symbolic or ritual significance. Rivers were sacred in Sumerian culture, and the integration of water systems with ziggurats reinforced the link between the earthly and divine. Fountains, pools, and channels could have guided ritual activities, reflecting the cosmic order and divine authority attributed to the Anunnaki. In this way, water served multiple roles: practical, spiritual, and possibly technological, underscoring the multifunctional nature of these structures. Consider the cumulative effect. Hydraulic engineering, structural stability, and potential energy applications all point to a society that understood the properties and potential of water in ways that go beyond simple irrigation. Combined with precision geometry, celestial alignment, and advanced materials, this knowledge would have been crucial for constructing and maintaining monumental ziggurats. If the Anunnaki provided guidance, they may have revealed not only principles of physics, but also techniques for applying them effectively, transforming natural resources into tools for construction and ritual. Finally, water reminds us that these structures were not static. Ziggurats were dynamic environments, interacting with the elements, the heavens, and human activity. Harnessing water allowed the Sumerians to manipulate their environment, maintain the integrity of massive structures, and possibly even tap into unknown energy sources. Each channel, terrace, and chamber may have been part of a sophisticated system combining engineering, ritual, and technology, an embodiment of knowledge that blurred the line between human ingenuity and divine instruction. In the next section, we will explore the mysterious inscriptions and cuneiform texts associated with ziggurats, investigating how these writings may preserve secrets about construction techniques, celestial knowledge, and Anunnaki guidance. Imagine standing before a ziggurat wall, running your hand across the cuneiform inscriptions etched into clay tablets or carved into stone. To most, these writings are records of trade, law, and ritual. But some researchers suggest they may also encode secrets of construction, astronomy, and advanced technology, knowledge attributed in myths to the Anunnaki. Could these ancient scripts hold practical instructions hidden within symbolic language, bridging human labor, divine guidance, and celestial insight? Cuneiform, one of humanity's earliest writing systems, was highly adaptable. Scribes recorded everything from administrative transactions to religious hymns. Intriguingly, some tablets describe monumental construction projects in detail, listing materials, measurements, and labor allocation. Certain passages mention divine architects, or hand of the gods, overseeing workers, prompting speculation that these texts preserve practical knowledge of techniques that modern engineers find difficult to replicate. Could the instructions have been deliberately encoded in mythic or symbolic language to protect sacred knowledge? Consider the technical precision evident in some inscriptions. Tablets often detail standardized brick sizes, terrace heights, and ratios that mirror the dimensions of existing ziggurats. Measurements are sometimes presented alongside celestial observations, suggesting a direct link between construction and astronomy. This implies that scribes were not merely chroniclers, but custodians of complex interdisciplinary knowledge that may have originated from, or been inspired by, the Anunnaki themselves. Some texts also reference tools and methods in enigmatic terms. Phrases like stone that floats at the command of the gods, or device that measures the heavens, may describe mechanisms or instruments now lost to history. While mainstream scholars often interpret these expressions metaphorically, alternative theories propose that they contain encoded instructions for lifting, aligning, and assembling massive stones, techniques essential to ziggurat construction. If this is true, the cuneiform tablets could be both historical record and technical manual, preserving a technological legacy disguised as mythology. The integration of ritual and practical instruction is another intriguing aspect. Many inscriptions accompany ceremonial directives, linking sacred rites with specific construction phases. This dual purpose reinforces the connection between technology, spirituality, and celestial alignment. It suggests that the Anunnaki, if we interpret the myths literally, may have imparted wisdom in a form that required humans to engage both intellectually and ritually, ensuring that knowledge was applied correctly and respected as sacred. Furthermore, some scholars have noted patterns within the texts that hint at mathematical or astronomical encoding. Certain sequences of numbers, repetitions of symbols, or references to celestial events appear more than once, suggesting intentional structuring beyond mere record-keeping. Could these be mnemonic devices, teaching aids, or even encoded formulas for engineering, geometry, or astronomy? If so, the inscriptions transform from static records into dynamic repositories of applied knowledge, merging human intellect with alleged Anunnaki insight. The question arises, why hide practical knowledge in symbolic language? One possibility is that the Anunnaki, or the priests transmitting their teachings, intended to protect advanced techniques from misuse or misunderstanding. By embedding instructions within ritualistic and mythological narratives, the creators ensured that only those trained in the correct interpretive framework could access the full knowledge. This method of preservation aligns with other aspects of ziggurat design. Precision, secrecy, and cosmic alignment all work together to encode wisdom in both material and written forms. As we move into the next section, we will explore the construction myths and legends surrounding the Anunnaki, examining how these stories may preserve practical knowledge, inspire awe, and explain seemingly impossible achievements in ziggurat construction. Picture the ancient plains of Mesopotamia, where towering ziggurats pierce the sky, and the stories of their creation are whispered through generations. These stories often center on the Anunnaki, described as godlike beings who descended from the heavens to teach humans how to build, govern, and cultivate civilization. But beyond myth, could these legends preserve clues about advanced construction techniques, project management, and engineering practices that seem almost supernatural for their time? Sumerian myths frequently depict the Anunnaki as architects, engineers, and overseers. They are said to have directed the laying of foundations and moved mountains to shape the land. To modern readers, these statements sound poetic, yet the practical implications are remarkable. Could the metaphors conceal real instructions on organizing labor, transporting massive stones, or employing tools and leverage systems unknown to ordinary humans? Many theorists argue that these tales are not merely allegorical, they are coded narratives preserving knowledge that could have been transmitted orally or through ritualized teaching. One recurring motif in these myths is the collaboration between gods and humans. The Anunnaki are often shown instructing humans step by step, teaching them not only construction techniques, but also astronomy, mathematics, and resource management. This partnership explains how early civilizations accomplished tasks that would have been nearly impossible with human effort alone. It also highlights the notion that myth and reality were intertwined. Stories were both entertainment and instruction, encoding practical wisdom in memorable symbolic language. The myths also emphasize precision, hierarchy, and timing. Tablets describe sequences in construction, laying foundations, raising terraces, and aligning structures with celestial bodies. These narrative sequences may mirror the actual stages of ziggurat construction, reinforcing the integration of engineering principles and religious ritual. By following the instructions embedded in myth, builders could achieve consistency, symmetry, and durability in monumental structures, a practice that blurred the lines between legend and practical knowledge. Some legends suggest that certain tools and methods were gifts from the Anunnaki. Phrases like instruments from the stars or weights of the heavens may symbolize advanced mechanisms for lifting, aligning, or stabilizing heavy materials. While archaeologists often interpret these references metaphorically, the correlation between myth and the physical evidence of massive, precisely constructed ziggurats is striking. It raises the possibility that oral tradition preserved real technological knowledge, encoded as divine instruction. Another fascinating aspect is the emphasis on secrecy. Myths often describe chambers, rituals, and instructions restricted to priests or chosen individuals, implying that specialized knowledge was closely guarded. This aligns with what we know of hidden chambers within ziggurats, suggesting that both physical spaces and oral traditions were designed to protect advanced understanding. In this sense, myth functions as a guidebook disguised as legend, transmitting wisdom while maintaining control over its application. Finally, these stories may serve a philosophical purpose. By framing monumental construction as a collaboration with divine beings, the myths reinforce the human desire to connect with higher powers, understand the cosmos, and master the environment. They elevate ordinary labor into sacred work, imbuing construction with meaning, precision, and awe. The ziggurat becomes not only a physical structure, but also a testament to the blending of myth, technology, and human aspiration. In the next section, we will explore the global parallels and similarities in monumental construction, investigating whether knowledge akin to that attributed to the Anunnaki appears in other ancient civilizations, hinting at shared techniques or influences across cultures. Step back and consider the monumental architecture of ancient civilizations. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the pyramids of Egypt, the step pyramids of Mesoamerica, and even the megalithic structures of Europe. Despite being separated by continents and millennia, these societies share striking similarities: precise stonework, astronomical alignment, terraced construction, and advanced project management. Could these parallels hint at a shared body of knowledge, perhaps inspired or guided by beings akin to the Anunnaki? Take, for instance, the pyramids of Egypt. Like ziggurats, they demonstrate extraordinary precision in alignment with celestial points, massive stone transportation, and durable construction. Scholars marvel at how ancient Egyptians moved and placed stones weighing tens of tons, with techniques still debated today. Similarly, step pyramids in Central America, such as those at Teotihuacan, exhibit terraced designs, cosmic orientation, and ceremonial functions. The recurrence of these features across cultures raises a compelling question. Are these achievements purely coincidental, or do they reflect a shared technological or spiritual framework? Some theorists propose that these similarities stem from common principles of architecture and mathematics, discovered independently by multiple civilizations. Human ingenuity alone could explain the development of ramps, levers, geometry, and labor organization. Yet the rapid emergence of advanced knowledge, coupled with recurring design motifs, invites speculation about the possibility of external guidance. Could the Anunnaki, or a similar concept of divine knowledge, have influenced multiple societies, transmitting methods for construction, astronomy, and organization in a subtle, culturally adapted way? Astronomical alignment is another striking parallel. Across continents, monumental structures align with solstices, equinoxes, and prominent stars. This suggests a deep understanding of celestial cycles, used for both practical purposes: agriculture, navigation, and ritual significance. Ziggurats mirror this pattern, aligning terraces, hidden chambers, and staircases with the heavens. Whether this knowledge was developed independently or shared through contact or inspiration, the consistency indicates that ancient civilizations were thinking in ways modern observers might consider extraordinarily advanced. Megalithic techniques also show surprising similarities. The ability to move massive stones, cut them precisely, and assemble them into stable, enduring structures is evident in Sumeria, Egypt, South America, and parts of Europe. Traditional explanations rely on manpower, simple tools, and ingenuity, but the level of precision and scale often strains plausibility. Some alternative researchers suggest that these societies possessed lost technologies, knowledge of physics, or even energy-assisted methods reminiscent of those attributed to the Anunnaki in Mesopotamia. Ritual and symbolic integration further strengthens the connection. Across cultures, monumental structures are not purely functional. They serve religious, political, and ceremonial purposes. Alignments with the cosmos, hidden chambers, and carefully staged construction all point to an intent that merges engineering with metaphysics. Ziggurats exemplify this blend, with terraces, chambers, and inscriptions simultaneously supporting labor, spiritual practice, and celestial observation. This multifaceted approach appears in other civilizations as well, suggesting either convergent development or the diffusion of advanced knowledge. Finally, these global parallels challenge conventional narratives about ancient human capability. They suggest a shared fascination with bridging the terrestrial and celestial, the physical and the spiritual. Whether through independent discovery or external guidance, monumental architecture reflects a universal aspiration to reach higher, to harmonize with the cosmos, and to encode knowledge in stone for future generations. In the next section, we will explore the possible materials and metallurgy techniques used in ziggurat construction, examining how the Anunnaki, or advanced human knowledge influenced by them, may have optimized durability, weight management, and structural integrity. Step closer to a ziggurat, and you notice the remarkable consistency of its bricks and stones, their uniformity a testament to advanced craftsmanship. Ancient texts and archaeological evidence suggest that Sumerians did not rely on chance. Every material was selected, prepared, and assembled with purpose. Some theorists propose that this knowledge, how to create durable materials, manipulate weight, and construct monumental architecture, was taught or refined by the Anunnaki, blending human skill with advanced engineering. Mudbricks, the primary building material, were far from primitive. Sumerians carefully mixed clay, water, and straw, then sun-dried or fired them for added strength. Each brick was remarkably uniform, allowing precise alignment and structural stability across terraces rising tens of meters high. Inscriptions reference bricks shaped by divine hands and baked by the sun's fire, which may symbolize both human technique and Anunnaki instruction. The resulting uniformity ensured load distribution, minimized cracking, and provided resilience against seasonal flooding. Beyond bricks, bitumen and other binding agents were used to waterproof foundations and terraces. Mesopotamia's flood-prone environment demanded innovation. Water-resistant coatings protected the core structure, while layered construction distributed weight evenly. Some theorists speculate that these materials were refined using knowledge imparted by the Anunnaki, possibly including additives or techniques now lost to history. This would explain the durability of ziggurats, many of which partially survived millennia of erosion. Metallurgy also played a subtle but crucial role. While ziggurats were predominantly brick and mud, copper tools, bronze implements, and possibly more advanced alloys were used for shaping stones, measuring alignments, and assembling terraces. Ancient texts mention tools from heaven, capable of precise cuts, raising the possibility of a lost technologies enabling efficient construction. Some researchers suggest that the Anunnaki may have provided insight into metalworking techniques, allowing humans to create durable tools capable of handling massive loads with precision. The interplay between material selection and engineering knowledge was essential. The combination of durable mud bricks, water-resistant coatings, and precise geometry ensured that ziggurats remained stable over centuries. In some cases, stone foundations and terraces were used to anchor structures to bedrock, preventing subsidence. The integration of materials, engineering, and celestial alignment reflects a holistic understanding of architecture, one that considers not only physical stress but environmental conditions and symbolic meaning. Additionally, materials may have carried ritual significance. Texts describe offerings made during the creation of bricks, the mixing of mortars, and the layering of terraces. This intertwining of construction, material science, and sacred ritual suggests that the process itself was a form of knowledge transfer, practical, symbolic, and possibly guided by the Anunnaki. In essence, every brick could represent a unit of technology, a lesson in geometry, and a conduit of divine instruction. Finally, the durability and precision of materials allowed for complex architectural innovations, from hidden chambers to terraces aligned with stars. Without uniform, strong bricks and carefully selected binding agents, these feats would have been nearly impossible. The combination of craftsmanship, material knowledge, and potential Anunnaki guidance created structures that were not only functional, but symbolic, spiritual, and technologically advanced for their era. In the next section, we will explore the transportation methods and labor organization involved in ziggurat construction, uncovering how humans may have moved massive materials efficiently under guidance, possibly with technologies or methods inspired by the Anunnaki. Imagine the sight of thousands of workers maneuvering massive mud bricks and stone blocks across the Mesopotamian plains, each step choreographed with precision, each terrace rising higher than the last. The construction of ziggurats was not just an engineering challenge, it was a logistical marvel. How did early civilizations manage to transport such enormous quantities of materials and coordinate large-scale labor efficiently? Some researchers suggest that the Anunnaki may have provided guidance, tools, or methods to make the seemingly impossible feasible. The sheer volume of materials is staggering. For a single ziggurat, tens of thousands of mud bricks were required, each weighing between 25 to 30 kilograms. In some cases, stone blocks weighing several tons were transported from distant quarries. Archaeologists hypothesize the use of sledges, ramps, rollers, and possibly lubricated pathways, such as water-soaked mud, to reduce friction. Ancient texts describe paths of the gods and mountains that move, language that some interpret as metaphorical descriptions of advanced techniques for material handling, potentially lessons imparted by the Anunnaki. Labor organization was equally sophisticated. Construction likely involved hierarchical teams, skilled artisans, brickmakers, laborers, overseers, and priests ensuring ritual compliance. Tablets outline shifts, quotas, and management structures that mirror modern project planning. Coordinating thousands of workers without modern communication tools would have required meticulous planning, discipline, and possibly external instruction. Some theorists propose that the Anunnaki may have provided knowledge of organizational strategies, ensuring that human labor was maximized while minimizing errors and inefficiency. Ramps and inclined planes were probably key to moving materials to higher terraces. While traditional explanations assume simple ramps, some researchers suggest the existence of counterweight systems, pulley mechanisms, or even water-assisted transport, concepts hinted at in cuneiform texts describing machines of the gods. These methods would have reduced the manpower required, increased safety, and allowed for precise placement of massive blocks. The consistency of terrace construction across different ziggurats implies that these techniques were standardized, preserved, and possibly taught under divine supervision. The coordination of rituals alongside labor adds another layer of complexity. Many construction activities were timed to celestial events or religious ceremonies, meaning that workers were not merely moving bricks, they were participating in spiritually significant acts. This integration of labor, astronomy, and ritual reinforces the idea that ziggurats were holistic projects, architectural, technological, and symbolic all at once. In this sense, construction was as much a cultural practice as it was an engineering feat. Furthermore, logistics may have extended beyond immediate construction. Sourcing materials from distant locations required knowledge of geography, transport routes, and seasonal conditions. Workers needed tools, food, and shelter, necessitating infrastructure planning. Ancient texts describe supply paths and stores for the laborers, hinting at an advanced understanding of resource management. These details, when combined with myths of Anunnaki guidance, suggest a civilization that operated with a remarkable degree of sophistication, blending practical problem-solving with divine instruction. Finally, the orchestration of labor and materials reflects a broader principle. Monumental construction is as much about organization and knowledge transfer as it is about physical labor. Whether through the application of advanced techniques, guidance from the Anunnaki, or cumulative human ingenuity, the builders of ziggurats achieved what appears impossible for their era. Their success lay not in brute force alone, but in a combination of intelligence, skill, planning, and possibly the influence of beings who knew how to manipulate both people and materials effectively. In the next section, we will explore the mystery of unfinished ziggurats and incomplete construction, investigating what halted these projects and what clues they offer about Anunnaki influence, resource limits, and ancient engineering challenges. Imagine standing before a towering ziggurat, its terraces abruptly halting mid-ascent, as if the builders simply stopped. These unfinished monuments scattered across Mesopotamia are some of the most enigmatic relics of ancient engineering. They raise critical questions. Why were such ambitious projects abandoned? Did the Anunnaki withdraw their guidance, or were the limitations human, environmental, or political? The gaps in these monumental structures offer a rare glimpse into the challenges of early civilization. Archaeologists have documented multiple unfinished ziggurats, where the base and lower terraces are complete, but upper levels remain absent or partially built. In some cases, brick quality changes midway, suggesting material shortages or time constraints. Others show signs of structural collapse or alterations in design, indicating that builders may have had to adapt to unforeseen issues. These anomalies reveal the inherent difficulties in constructing enormous structures in a pre-industrial society, even with advanced knowledge or guidance. One theory attributes unfinished ziggurats to sudden political shifts. Kings and rulers often commissioned these monuments to demonstrate divine favor and political power. When leadership changed or funding disappeared, construction ceased. Tablets hint at interruptions. Phrases like, "the work of the gods was delayed," may encode practical explanations, from manpower shortages to supply chain disruptions. If the Anunnaki were involved, their withdrawal could symbolize the cessation of guidance, leaving human engineers to confront challenges alone. Environmental factors also played a role. Mesopotamia's climate is both fertile and volatile. Flooding, droughts, and erosion threatened monumental projects. Maintaining foundations, transporting materials, and stabilizing terraces demanded constant attention. Some unfinished ziggurats show evidence of water damage or subsidence, suggesting that natural forces could have forced work to halt. These examples remind us that even advanced techniques could not entirely overcome the unpredictability of nature. Technological limitations must also be considered. Despite sophisticated knowledge of materials, alignment, and hydraulics, certain aspects of construction, lifting massive stones to extreme heights, maintaining precise terraces, or ensuring structural integrity under dynamic loads, posed persistent problems. Incomplete structures may have served as experimental platforms where builders tested methods that ultimately proved insufficient. This scenario aligns with myths describing the Anunnaki providing guidance, teaching humans step by step, and occasionally withdrawing support when lessons were learned or goals unachievable. Ritual considerations may have contributed as well. Ziggurats were not merely architectural projects, they were sacred spaces. Changes in ceremonial priorities, astronomical timing, or religious directives could have halted construction temporarily or permanently. A terrace left incomplete might indicate a shift in ritual significance or a realignment with celestial events, underscoring the integration of engineering, spirituality, and mythology in these projects. Finally, unfinished ziggurats are invaluable windows into the interplay of human ambition, environmental constraint, and possible Anunnaki influence. They reveal the limitations of early societies, the complexity of monumental engineering, and the potential role of advanced guidance in pushing humans to achieve extraordinary feats. In these incomplete giants, we witness the tension between what was envisioned and what was achievable, a reminder that even divine instruction, if we interpret the myths literally, had boundaries. In the next section, we will explore the enduring legacy of ziggurats, examining how their design, technology, and spiritual symbolism influenced later civilizations and shaped humanity's pursuit of monumental architecture. Imagine walking through ancient cities across the world, from Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica, and noticing a familiar pattern: stepped terraces, precise alignments, and monumental scale. The ziggurats of Sumeria left more than a physical mark. They created a blueprint for civilizations that followed, influencing architecture, ritual practice, and perhaps even the way humans conceptualize divine guidance. Their enduring legacy demonstrates the profound impact of knowledge, whether mortal, mythic, or imparted by beings like the Anunnaki. Ziggurats influenced subsequent religious and ceremonial architecture. Egyptian pyramids, for instance, share terraced designs and precise alignment with celestial bodies. Step pyramids in Central America replicate the concept of ascending terraces as sacred spaces connecting earth and sky. Even ancient Near Eastern temples, long after the decline of Sumerian city-states, retained similar motifs: platforms, altars, and elevated sanctuaries that symbolize hierarchy, cosmology, and human aspiration. These parallels suggest that early innovations in Mesopotamia resonated across time and space. Beyond physical design, ziggurats contributed to urban planning and civic organization. Their construction required coordinated labor, resource allocation, and logistical systems that shaped early cities. Roads, canals, and worker accommodations often radiated from these monumental cores, reflecting the integration of architecture and administration. In this sense, ziggurats were not merely spiritual centers. They were catalysts for the development of complex society, demonstrating the power of applied knowledge and organized labor. Culturally, ziggurats reinforced the connection between humanity and the divine. Each terrace, chamber, and alignment was designed to embody cosmological principles, guiding rituals and maintaining spiritual order. The legends of the Anunnaki, whether interpreted literally or symbolically, amplify this influence, portraying a model where wisdom and technology flow from higher beings to humanity. This notion persisted in later civilizations, reinforcing the idea that architecture, governance, and spirituality are intertwined. The technological aspects of ziggurats also left an enduring mark. Precision in brickwork, alignment with the stars, and integration of water systems provided a framework for structural innovation. Later societies borrowed these principles, adapting them to local materials and needs. Even when myths faded, the underlying engineering knowledge survived, encoded in tradition, apprenticeship, and observation. In this way, the lessons attributed to the Anunnaki, whether allegorical or literal, continued to shape human ingenuity long after the original ziggurats fell into ruin. Ziggurats also left a philosophical legacy. They remind us that monumental architecture is more than a display of power. It is a bridge between imagination and reality. They encode knowledge in stone, align human effort with cosmic patterns, and inspire wonder across generations. The myths surrounding their construction, particularly the role of the Anunnaki, emphasize that the pursuit of knowledge, technical, spiritual, or both, can elevate a civilization beyond what might seem possible for its time. Finally, the enduring fascination with ziggurats highlights humanity's desire to connect with the extraordinary. Archaeologists, historians, and enthusiasts continue to study these structures, seeking to understand the methods, materials, and mysteries they contain. Their influence on architecture, urban planning, ritual practice, and cultural imagination serves as a testament to the Sumerians' ingenuity and the possible guidance of the Anunnaki, leaving an indelible mark on the trajectory of human civilization. In the next and final section, we will reflect on the philosophical and existential implications of Anunnaki influence, considering what these ancient legends and architectural wonders reveal about humanity's search for knowledge, purpose, and connection to the cosmos. Close your eyes and envision the ziggurats once more, their terraces reaching skyward, hidden chambers cloaked in mystery, inscriptions that whisper secrets, and legends of beings from the heavens guiding their creation. Beyond the physical achievements, these structures invite reflection on humanity itself, our curiosity, ingenuity, and desire to transcend ordinary limits. The myths of the Anunnaki are not only tales of divine builders, they are mirrors reflecting our quest for understanding, knowledge, and purpose. The philosophical implications are profound. If we entertain the possibility that the Anunnaki guided or influenced early humans, we confront a complex intersection of science, spirituality, and identity. Were humans capable of constructing such monumental works independently, or did external instruction accelerate our progress? Regardless of literal interpretation, these stories highlight the idea that civilization is rarely the product of isolated effort. Knowledge, mentorship, and the transmission of wisdom, whether human, divine, or a combination, shape the trajectory of our species. Ziggurats themselves embody this principle. Their construction required planning, collaboration, and foresight that reached beyond immediate survival needs. Every brick, terrace, and hidden chamber reflects intentionality, discipline, and imagination. The myths of Anunnaki involvement amplify the human desire to reach higher, suggesting that our achievements are intertwined with guidance, whether metaphorical or literal. These structures ask a timeless question: how far can humans rise when empowered by knowledge, vision, and perhaps unseen hands? The alignment of ziggurats with celestial bodies also carries symbolic meaning. It reinforces the notion that humanity exists within a larger cosmic order. By building structures that echo the heavens, early civilizations acknowledged patterns and forces beyond their immediate comprehension. In doing so, they created a bridge between the tangible and the transcendent. Whether inspired by myth or by practical observation, the Anunnaki narratives underscore the human longing to connect with something greater than ourselves. Furthermore, the mysteries of materials, hidden chambers, and inscriptions suggest that knowledge is layered, some accessible to all, some reserved for the initiated. Philosophically, this mirrors our own experience. Understanding often requires effort, guidance, and careful interpretation. The ziggurats teach patience, precision, and reverence for the unknown, reminding us that progress is rarely linear and that the pursuit of knowledge is as important as the knowledge itself. There is also a cautionary aspect. The unfinished ziggurats and the limitations of human labour underscore that ambition alone is not enough. Resources, environment, and understanding impose boundaries. Myths of the Anunnaki, withdrawing guidance or of projects left incomplete, serve as reminders that mastery of complexity requires both skill and humility. They encourage reflection on the balance between aspiration and feasibility, vision and practicality. Ultimately, ziggurats and Anunnaki legends compel us to consider our place in history and the universe. They challenge the assumption that human capability is purely self-contained, hinting at collaboration, mentorship, and possibly even external influence. They illustrate that civilization is a tapestry woven from ingenuity, guidance, observation, and imagination. Each ancient terrace, hidden chamber, and celestial alignment becomes a symbol of our ongoing quest to reach higher, understand deeper, and connect with the cosmos. In the final section, we will conclude by reflecting on the enduring mysteries of the Anunnaki and the Ziggurats, leaving viewers with questions about the hidden chapters of human history and the possibilities that still lie beneath our feet. As we step back from the towering terraces of a ziggurat, the sun setting behind its ancient bricks, we are left with a profound sense of awe and an even deeper sense of mystery. The Anunnaki, whether mythic beings, symbolic representations of human ingenuity, or perhaps visitors from beyond, have left an indelible mark on history. Their alleged guidance, encoded in myths, inscriptions, and monumental architecture, invites us to question not only what we know about the past, but also the limits of human potential. Ziggurats, with their hidden chambers, celestial alignments, and precise engineering, challenge our understanding of early civilizations. How could humans, without modern machinery, have built such enduring structures? The answer may lie in a combination of human skill, observation of the natural world, and the transfer of knowledge, whether through divine inspiration, mentorship, or the enigmatic presence of the Anunnaki. Each brick, each terrace, each corridor becomes a testament to the intersection of imagination, technology, and belief. The inscriptions, myths, and rituals surrounding these structures deepen the mystery. Cuneiform tablets hint at lost tools and techniques, while legends describe collaborative construction guided by the gods. Hidden chambers suggest that knowledge was both sacred and practical, guarded and encoded. Even unfinished ziggurats remind us that ambition, despite its reach, can meet real-world constraints. Together, these elements form a complex narrative, one that bridges the tangible and the intangible, the historical and the legendary. Celestial alignments add another layer of intrigue. By connecting the physical structure to the stars, the builders, guided by observation, mathematics, or divine instruction, linked human endeavour with the cosmos. This alignment was more than aesthetic. It was functional, symbolic, and perhaps even technological, allowing rituals, construction, and knowledge transfer to align with patterns beyond the immediate world. In this sense, the ziggurats are not just monuments, they are instruments, laboratories, and observatories rolled into one. The question remains, what is the true nature of the Anunnaki? Are they purely myth, a metaphor for lost human knowledge, or something more? The legends and archaeological evidence refuse to provide a definitive answer. They invite speculation, encourage exploration, and remind us that history is never fully complete. Each discovery raises new questions about technology, spirituality, human ambition, and the mysterious forces that shape civilization. Philosophically, the legacy of the Anunnaki and the Ziggurats encourages reflection on humanity's pursuit of knowledge and the desire to reach beyond our limitations. They remind us that learning often requires guidance, patience, and reverence for the unknown. They illustrate the delicate balance between human ingenuity and the mysteries that still lie hidden, buried beneath layers of myth, sand, and time. Perhaps the greatest lesson is not in the stones themselves, but in the curiosity, determination, and awe they inspire. As we conclude this journey through ancient texts, hidden chambers, celestial alignments, and colossal construction, one question lingers. If civilizations rise and fall, leaving only monuments, myths, and mysteries behind, how many more truths remain buried beneath the earth? How much of our history, our knowledge, and our potential has yet to be uncovered, waiting silently for those willing to look, to wonder, and to imagine? In the end, the Ziggurats and the Anunnaki serve as mirrors of human aspiration. They challenge us to think bigger, reach higher, and remain humble before the vastness of history and the cosmos. Whether through myth, technology, or divine instruction, they remind us that the story of humanity is intertwined with the pursuit of the extraordinary. And perhaps, just perhaps, some of the greatest mysteries are still waiting beneath our feet.